Good evening. I'm going to do some work today on the B2, the first certificate, and for the writing part 1 of the B2 first certificate. So here we are. This is what the text, we're going to work with 3 texts today. So just like to say, okay, if you want to follow me on Instagram or TikTok, then my username is @Isla Idiomas, which you can follow and sign up for any future lives or any other work we do to do with English. I also do content about Tenerife as well, so if you want to find out more information about Tenerife, then you can follow me on @Isla Idiomas. Isladiomas.com is the website of my academy here in Tenerife. If you live in Tenerife and you want to pop in and get English classes with me, then that's where to go to find out more information about that. And on this side, I've got classroomgames.net, which is my website for materials. So if you're a teacher and you want more materials for your classes, then you can download stuff for free on this website here. But today, we're going to go over the first certificate, the English first certificate for the B2, writing part 1. So the writing part 1 is the compulsory question, okay? The compulsory question of the writing part 1. So you have to write 140 to 190 words, and you are given an essay title. And then you're given 2 clearly linked ideas, okay, that are linked to the title. And you must also add a 3rd different idea of your own, which is also linked to the title. The title will be a subject of general interest. Now, over the next few weeks, we'll be doing different subjects. Today will be one particular one, which is here. We'll introduce that in a second. It says you won't need any specialised knowledge. So you should be able to write about the subject. It should be something that is easy for you to do and to write about if you have the required level of English to do so. Now, Cambridge exams, first of all. In my opinion, if you're going to do an exam, Cambridge exams are better than in Spain. We have the Escuela de Idiomas exams. Cambridge exams tend to have, first of all, they're recognised throughout the world. So if you go anywhere, if you're going to study, if you're going to go to university, normally they request an IELTS. Cambridge exams can work as well. If you have the Cambridge first certificate, then a lot of universities will accept that as an entry onto an English-speaking course. Escuela de Idiomas exams, although they may be cheaper if you live in Spain, you actually have to pay extra to receive your certificate. Your certificate can take a long time to arrive, and also it's the content of the exams doesn't seem to be in context of how you would use it in real life a lot of the time. So Cambridge exams, to me, even though they cost, here they might cost about €180 to do a Cambridge exam, but if you add up the costs of classes for the Escuela de Idiomas and then the cost of presenting for the exam and then the cost you have to pay for your certificate, to be honest, it's not that much different. And Escuela de Idiomas exams are not accepted all over the world, whereas the Cambridge exams are. I think Cambridge exams are a better idea of a B2. If you get your B2 Cambridge, then everyone knows it's a B2. They know what level you are. So with that, we're going to, first of all, if you do want to do anything for me, then please follow or like. I'm not really bothered about gifts so much, but likes and follows really would appreciate. If you like my content and you like what I'm doing, then please give me a load of likes, follow me, and you'll get notified of other stuff. So, as I mentioned, we're looking at the English First Certificate B2 Writing Part 1, which is a compulsory question that you're expected to write. You usually have to write between 140 and 190 words. Okay, you're given an essay title, of which you have two ideas clearly linked to the title that you have to mention, and then you must also add another different idea of your own, which is also linked to the title. The title will be a subject of general interest. You won't need any specialised knowledge. Okay, so this is the example question that I've picked out for today, just one of the many that it could be. This one is about the environment. Now, the environment is always a topic that may come up in exams, because if it's not in the writing part 1, it will probably be in the writing part 2. You do have, in the writing part 2, you're given things like 3 different subjects that you can choose from. So this one is a compulsory question. You don't have a choice. You have to answer this one. In writing part 2, you're given a choice, so you can actually find something that is more towards what you would like to write about. So in this one, in your English class, you have been talking about the environment. Write an essay using all of the notes and give reasons for your point of view. Okay? In your English class, you've been talking about the environment. Write an essay using all the notes and give reasons for your point of view. Remember to make sure you've answered or you've done everything they ask of you. So you have to use all the notes and give reasons for your point of view. Okay, and this is the question. Every country in the world has problems with pollution and damage to the environment. Do you think these problems can be solved? So that's the question. Do you think these problems can be solved? You have to write about. These are the 3 linked things that you have to write about that were mentioned earlier. You have to write about transport. You have to write about rivers and seas. And then you have to give your own idea. Okay? First of all, I've got 3 texts that we're going to go through tonight. We're going to go through 3 varying texts. This first text would have got a 3. The second text we're going to go through would have got 4. And the third text would have got 5. Okay, so we're going to start with the worst text. And I've deliberately put in extra mistakes within the text in spelling and grammar, so that we can correct them. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to correct these texts for the grammar mistakes, and then we're going to talk about whether or not the text itself actually answers the question correctly and how it would be marked. Okay? So let's start at the beginning. I have my nice blue pen here. Really nice to write with. I love this pen. So I'm left-handed, so I'm going to move that around this way so that I can write, or maybe I will move so I can hold my telephone at the same time. Okay, it says, I think that my country has problems with pollution, okay, to the environment like lots other countries. So if you see any mistakes in that, please feel free to put them in the comments, okay? Otherwise, I'll just go ahead and show you my corrections. So we've got, first of all, think. This is not the way to spell the word think. Okay, so that is our first mistake. So we start think is spelt like that. I think that my country has problems with pollution. That seems okay. I think that my country has problems with pollution to the environment, like lots other countries. Now here we have like lots and other countries. Can anyone think of what the problems are with those words? Hi Susie, how are you? See you in class tomorrow. Okay, I think that my country has problems with pollution to the environment like lots other countries. Okay, well, first of all, lots, we need another little word in there. Do we know what that is? That is of. Okay, I think that my country has problems with pollution to the environment like lots of other countries. Countries, when a word ends in a Y and we're pluralising it in English, the Y needs to change to an I and then we add ES. So countries, let's see this, should be spelled countries like that. Okay, I think that my country has problems with pollution to the environment like lots of other countries. This problem is normally, on this line, this problem is normally. Now, normally is an adverb. We don't need an adverb in this case, so we take the adverb off. This problem is normal. That's an adjective. Adjective. Okay, this problem is normal. We have big problem with transport. And we've got a word missing here. Okay, so here we need, big problem needs to have an article. So it needs to be a big problem. We have a big problem with transport because there are too much cars. Okay, we've got a few problems here because there are, and then we've got too, and then much. Okay, there are, when we're talking, this says they are. They are. Okay, so this is the wrong there. There are three theres in English. You have they are, there, which is this one. Then you have there, which is like i.e. over there. And also there are. In Spanish, this would be I. I don't know if there are people from other parts of the world, if you let me know where you're from as well. There are, in this case, is when il y a, in French, I think, as well. There are two as well. We have three twos. We have two. We have two, and we have two, don't we? Two as in the number two, two as in to go to somewhere, or to go to movement towards, and also to, which means as well. So you could use to also as well, but it has two O's in it. So there are two, and if we're talking about cars, cars are countable nouns. So instead of too much, which is used with uncountables, you need to have too many. Okay, so that sentence would be, we have a big problem with transport because there are too many cars. That sounds much better. In our country. So in our country is fine. And because that we have problems. Now, first of all, I wouldn't ever start a sentence with and. Okay? If you're doing a writing exam, I wouldn't put and at the beginning of a sentence. Either have that without the full stop, so don't carry on the sentence, or you just take the and out. to be honest, sometimes I wouldn't start with because either. But in this case, we'd be okay. Because that we have problems with atmosphere. So because, maybe you could start with this is because, and we'd have that as a small b. This is because, get rid of that, so we don't need that. This is because we have problems with atmosphere. Now this is a common problem. Atmosphere is spelt wrong. In English, the F is a PH in this word, mos. And then it's sphere, yeah, like as in the word sphere, atmosphere, because it's the air around the country, isn't it? Or sorry, around the world. So with atmosphere. So then we'd put a full stop there. And we might, capital letter. Air in my city and in all country. Now you can't have all country like that. You would just say all the country, because we're talking about a specific country, is really dirty. And sometimes I can't make a sigh. Now, this is, you can't really say that in English. You can't make a sigh. A sigh is, oh. I don't think the person that did this particular answer, what would go instead of I can't make a sigh? What do you think that person's trying to say? Say, I can't make a sigh, no. I can't breathe. Okay? I can't breathe. Respirar, to breathe. Okay. So, and the country is really dirty, and sometimes I can't breathe because it smells around me. I don't know whether you would it because it smells and just leave it at that. You could, it smells everywhere, you could put as well. I would just take that out because it smells. And of course, around that, cars on the road. Now, this sentence is just completely, and of course that cars on the road doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So you could say, because it smells, and of course you would say, there are maybe you've got here, there are too many cars in our country. So you want to try and find, if you're saying something very, very similar, you want to try and find another word or different words that you can use and synonyms to make your text sound more interesting. Because it smells, and of course there are, instead of cars, you might say vehicles. There are, instead of many, you might say a lot of, and then we'll go over here, vehicles. So you spell vehicles, vehicles, vehicles. And then you would have to put on the road. So we've got the on there anyway. There are a lot of vehicles on the road. Okay. And then they've started with another question, another sort of, I don't know, I think I might actually start this on another paragraph. If we start another paragraph, put 2 lines there, okay? I've heard about tradition in one country. So I've heard about, well, tradition is a noun and it's not plural, so it would have to be a tradition. I've heard about our tradition, I would say in one country. They don't go anywhere by car. One day a month or a year, they just use bicycle or their feet. So they don't go anywhere by car. 1 month or a year, they just use bicycle or their feet. Okay, so here we go. They don't go anywhere by car. That's okay. I mean, it could be better, but you could say they don't use cars. There are different ways you could say the same thing, but that's fine. They don't go anywhere by car. But here, there's something a bit wrong with this bit. I would say put a full stop in there, or maybe you're doing a colon or a semicolon, but that wouldn't be a capital if it was a semicolon. They don't go anywhere by car. 1 day a month or a year, no, that would be every year. Every year makes more sense. 1 day a month every year. So that would be they just use bicycle or their feet. Well, first of all, they just ride bicycles in general or their feet. When someone travels by feet, first of all, this there is wrong. If it was there, it would be THEIR, because it's, as I said, there are 3 theirs. You have there, yeah, they are. You have there, as in there is, there are, and over there, etc. And then you have there, which is possession. It belongs to them. Okay, it is theirs, it belongs to them. Okay, so let's get back to here. So we said all their feet. So first of all, that would have to be there, as in THEIR. But you wouldn't say their feet. This is not how we would say by foot. Okay, by foot. So when you're using transport and travel, you do things by. You go by bicycle. You go by car, by bus. You travel by. And if you're going, you could go by foot. You can also go on foot as well. Okay, so you can have by foot or on foot. But all the rest of them, by. I think it could be very good if we had a tradition like that. I think it could be very good, is fine, if we had a tradition like that. You could say, that's actually not so bad, this sentence. I think it could be very good if we had, this is conditional sentence, isn't it? So here we have 2 clauses. We have our if clause, if we have a tradition like that. Yeah, and then we have our consequence. So it's basically a conditional sentence that's been flipped. So instead of putting if first, the ifs come second. You can always do that. So I think it could be very good if we had a tradition like that. Which conditional is that? Does anyone know? Which conditional sentence? Would or could or should plus the present or the infinitive. If we had, that's the past simple. So if it's past simple in the if clause and could plus or would plus the infinitive in the main clause, this is the the second conditional. Conditional. Can I fit conditional on? Let's see, yes. So I think it could be very good if we had a tradition like that. You could say that differently. If we had a similar tradition, sounds a lot nicer. Okay, a lot nicer. Once again, if you like what we're doing here, then please give me some likes and follows. Not too bothered about gifts, but if you want to, then that's up to you. I don't actually need them. But likes and follows, I would love. Okay, so now we're going on to another paragraph. So that's our first paragraph corrected now. And now we're going to go on to this second paragraph. So what's she done in this first one? She's talked about transport. Yep. Okay. Talked about transport and has given reasons for your point of view, for the point of view. She's given a reason, or she or he, I don't know if it was a man or a woman. This is just a text that I downloaded off the internet of someone that has an example of someone's actual writing. Okay. I've stuck a few extra errors in there so we can go and correct them. This text would have got a 3 in the actual first certificate exam. For anyone that's just joined, we're doing the English First Certificate B2 Writing Part 1, the compulsory question. So this is a question that everyone gets and everyone has to answer. You need to write between 140 and 190 words. And you're given an essay title with 2 ideas that are linked to the question, and then you have to come up with your own idea that's also linked to the question. The question, as I said at the beginning, you really have to make sure you answer exactly what it says. In your English class, you've been talking about the environment, write an essay using all the notes and give reasons for your point of view. Give reasons. That's really important that you make sure that you answer all the points. Okay, so we've just covered transport in this first paragraph. After our corrections, it says, I think that my country has problems with pollution to the environment like lots of other countries. This problem is normal. We have a big problem with transport because there are too many cars in our country. This is because we have problems with atmosphere, or with the atmosphere. Well, atmosphere in general, it's the atmosphere. Air in my city and in all the country is really dirty, and sometimes I can't breathe because it smells. And of course, there are a lot of vehicles on the road, or on the roads, you could even say. Road or roads, it doesn't matter. I've heard about a tradition in one country. They don't go anywhere by car. One day a month, every year, they just ride bicycles or, I'll say, go by foot. I think it could be very good if we had a tradition like that, or had a similar tradition. Okay, so that's our first. So talked about transport, which is said in the question, and has given reasons for the point of view. So that's really good. That's answered the question, and therefore you'll get the points for that. So on to the second paragraph. Second paragraph, we want to try and introduce rivers and seas. Okay, so what about the rivers and seas? There we go, just introduced it. Yeah. Now, wouldn't really use this in a writing. This is quite informal. And unless you're actually asked to write an informal email or something like that, this isn't really something that you would use in a writing task. Okay, you wouldn't use gonna or wanna, even though you might say it and you might practice it, or you might hear it in listenings. you won't use it. You might not use contractions either. So I'm, you're, there. They tend to be more for informal writing. Try and also, if you do use things like I'm, then it will count as 2 words. Okay, or wouldn't, things like that probably count as 2 words. Okay, so what about the rivers and seas? There are some really good and clean rivers. Well, first of all, now we've got rid of that we need to have a capital T there because that's a question mark at the end. So that's the end of a sentence. We need to start a new sentence. There are some really good and clean rivers and seas. Now we've got rivers and seas there, and we've got rivers and seas there. We don't really want to be repeating stuff, okay? When we're doing writing tasks, we want to try and use synonyms if we can in different parts of the text. So what can we say instead of rivers and seas? There are some really good and clean waterways. Maybe waterways. And if we want the 3 words, and oceans. If you use synonyms, you'll get more points because it makes the text sound different. It makes it sound more interesting. Okay, so what about the rivers and seas? There are some really good and clean waterways and oceans where you can go, but there are not many of them. Now, this there, does anyone know why that's wrong? Can anyone suggest why that's wrong? We mentioned the 3 there's, there and there earlier. There, they are. There, as in there is, there are, or over there. And there, which is possession. So this there is possession. But this is not something that would be a possession of a person or anything in that sentence. So we need to change that. This is for there are. So we need to change that to there. T-H-E-R-E. Okay? But there are not many of them. You know, many English people make mistakes with these all the time. All my friends on Facebook, well, not all of them, but some of them, I read stuff and they make mistakes with these all the time. In people I don't know, on groups I go on and stuff like that. There are, so don't worry too much if you make mistakes, but for the writing exam, you really do try and get them right. Because basically the whole point of the writing exam is that you can spell correctly and you know the difference. The same with these, with 2 and 2. English people make mistakes with this all the time. So if it's not for an exam, people will understand you if you write the wrong one because they understand each other anyway, So don't get too, but if it's for an exam, then obviously you do need to take care with these sorts of things. So what about the rivers and seas? There are some really good and clean waterways and oceans where you can go, but there are not many of them. Okay, that's not so bad. We started off our paragraph. Once I saw the river in my city. It is about 2 years past. Okay, we wouldn't say that in English. We wouldn't say 2 years past. You say, and if you're talking about the past, then this verb is wrong. We need to put that in the past as well. So we wouldn't say is. What would we say? What's the past of the verb to be? Does anyone know? It was. Okay, it was about 2 years. About 2 years past. Now, in English, if something is in the past, we want to say sort of hace 2 años, we will say ago. Anyone Spanish on? I speak Spanish. I speak a tiny bit of French. So if you need me to translate stuff in Spanish, I can. Just ask in the comments. French, not so much. I'm learning. I've been watching other people's French lives this afternoon to try and to get along, learn more. Once I saw the river in my city, it was about 2 years ago. And that's a comma because this is, what is it? It's a non-defining clause. Okay? The difference between a non-defining clause and a defining clause, anyone know that? It is, a defining clause is information that you need in a sentence and actually gives extra information, gives information that you wouldn't understand the sentence if you don't have it. If you have a non-defining clause, which is what this is, it gives extra information, but you would still understand the sentence if it wasn't there. So, for example, oh, say hello to my cat. Hello. For example, in this sentence, once I saw the river in my city, but I still remember that in some places it was not blue. You'd still understand that sentence. Once I saw the river in my city, it was about 2 years ago. It's just extra information about the time that you actually saw the river. About 2 years ago, but I still remember that in some places it was not blue. Okay, I still remember that in some places it was not blue. It was green or purple. I didn't really understand because it had different colours. This, it's all a bit, I don't know, it's a bit, it doesn't flow. It's not a flowing sentence. So, once I saw the river in my city, it was about 2 years ago. But I still remember that in some places it was not blue. It was green or purple. Full stop. I didn't really understand why, not because. I didn't really understand why it had different colours. So, does this answer the question here? Has this person talked about rivers and seas? Yes, they have. Has this person given reasons for their point of view? What is their point of view? There's some really clean waterways and oceans. Once I saw a river in my city, it was 2 years ago, but I didn't really understand. No, they've not given a point of view. They haven't actually said what their point of view is about the rivers and seas. Okay, so they've not actually answered the question with this. With the first one, yes, they answered the question. With the second one, no, they've not actually answered the question properly. They've talked about rivers and seas, yes, they've done that, but they haven't given reasons for their point of view. They haven't actually given a point of view, let alone give reasons, okay? So, now we're going to move on to the last part. Let you know, just once again, if you like and find this helpful, then please give me a few likes to help me along, and follow if you want to find, if you want more lives, get notified of the lives and put more and more information about English and how to pass English exams. My website is isladiomas.com. That's for my academy, which is based in Tenerife. So if you live in Tenerife and you want to come for actual classes, then please come along to Isla Idiomas. We're in Playa San Juan. And if you're a teacher, I have, or you want materials, they're actually games you can download and play to practice English on classroomgames.net. Most of them are free. I put them on free for 6 months when I first make them. All materials I put on for 6 months. For free to download. You can print, photocopy, and then print them off and laminate them and then cut them up, play them. There's games that help you learn verbs and just things to make learning a little bit easier, a little bit more fun. Okay, so check those out if you want. Drop me a follow, give me some likes. I would appreciate it. Okay, here we've got our final bit. So we've got our last paragraph and then our final sentence. Yeah, it says, I doesn't know what need we do. Now, do we know what's wrong with this? I doesn't know. Well, I is the subject here. I is the subject, and with the verb, with the verb to do, and the do as an auxiliary, as it is here in the present simple. I know. It will be I don't know. You don't know. He doesn't know. She doesn't know. It doesn't know. We don't know. They don't know. So it's not doesn't, it's don't. It's only in the third person singular where we use doesn't. Only he, she and it. Okay? I don't know. What need we do? Well, if you've got a verb, you always need, in English, a subject before it. So here we've got I, then we've got a verb. If we've not got a subject before it, it will usually have the word to before it, to need. I don't know what. So our subject is here. Our subject needs to go in front. I don't know what we need to do, because we haven't do is after. So we're going to need to in front of it, because you can't have two verbs together without to in between. I don't know what we need to do. Okay? I don't know what we need to do. Maybe we should just open our eyes and look what we did. Maybe we should just open our eyes. That's fine. It makes sense. And look. Well, when you have look, you usually look at. Okay, and look at what we did. Well, we did is usually talking about, when you're using the past simple, you're usually talking about a point in the past that has finished. But if we're talking about something that has happened over a long amount of time, and we're not actually saying exactly when. So if I draw a timeline here, okay, this is now, this is the future, this is the past, okay? If we're talking about, maybe we should look at what we did. Well, we're talking about something that has happened in the past at an indeterminate time period. It started sometime in the past. It could have happened at any of that time, including and up to now. So it could have happened 2 minutes ago. It's also looking at something that could have happened over a period of time, but we're not saying exactly how long. We're not giving a defined time period. So in this case, in English we use this a lot, we would use the present perfect. So look at what, and we've got did there, so it would be the same verb, but we need to use the auxiliary have, and then the past participle of did, which would be done. Do, did, done. Just open our eyes and look at what we have done. But people doesn't care about the world. Okay, but people, now people, although it means many, many people, it would be they, it's not he, she or it, is it? So again, people don't care. Need to change that as well. People don't care about the world around them much. People don't care about the world around them much. I don't know, the much I'd get rid of. And then full stop. And then you can put capital P there. People care only about themselves. Now, I would say that only needs to be here instead of there. People only care about themselves, and that's all. Well, first of all, and is spelt incorrectly there. That should be and that's all. So the better idea, So the better idea is look around and try to do something well for our planet and for us and our child. So this is the ending conclusion to the letter, this sentence. So the better, spelt incorrectly, but this is a comparative. What's it comparing to? It's not actually comparing to anything else, is it? So what we need to do is change it to a superlative. So the best idea is to look around and try to do something well. Well, that's an adverb, and we don't want an adverb there. We need an adjective, so the adjective for well would be good. So the best idea is to look as well. I've missed a to out there. The best idea is to look around and try to do something good for our planet and for us and our child. Now, when you've got connecting things there, for our planet, you don't need and here, you need a comma. For our planet, for us, and our childs. Well, childs is wrong. Childs, the plural of child is children. Okay, and our children. It's an irregular plural. Okay, so there we go. There's our text corrected. We'll read through it one last time. If you like this, then please give me a like. Please follow along. The question was, in your English class, you've been talking about the environment. Write an essay using all the notes and give reasons for your point of view. So give reasons for your point of view. You need to give a point of view, give reasons. Every country in the world has problems with pollution and damage to the environment. Do you think these problems can be solved? So that's the question. Do you think these problems can be solved? Write about transport, rivers and seas, and your own idea, which is related to the question. Okay? What this person has written, we have now corrected the text, but what they wrote was as follows. I think that my country has problems with pollution to the environment, like lots of other countries. This problem is normal. We have a big problem with transport because there are too many cars in our country. There are too many cars in our country. Yeah, here I am. This is because we have problems with the atmosphere. Air in my city and in all the country is really dirty. And sometimes I can't breathe because it smells. And of course, there are a lot of vehicles on the road. I've heard about a tradition in one country. They don't go anywhere by car. 1 month a day, every year, they just use bicycles or go by foot. I think it could be very good if we had a similar tradition. Okay? So, this first section, it's mentioned transport, it's given a point of view, and it's given reasons for that point of view. So that, yes, has answered the question. Second paragraph. So what about the rivers and seas? There are some really good and clean waterways and oceans where you can go. but there are not many of them. Once I saw the river in my city. It was about 2 years ago, but I still remember that in some places it was not blue, it was green or purple. I didn't really understand why. It had different colours. So, has this answered the question? Well, it's talked about rivers and seas, like it's been asked, but it hasn't given a point of view, and it hasn't given reasons for that point of view. So this paragraph has not answered the question for a first certificate exam. Third paragraph. I don't know what we need to do. Maybe we should just open our eyes and look at what we have done. But people don't care about the world around them. People only care about themselves, and that's all. Has that actually given another idea? It hasn't, has it? It hasn't actually given another idea. So that also has not answered the question. This would be a great ending paragraph. It's fine, but you need another concept in there. You need to answer something else. Okay? Final sentence. This is your concluding sentence. So the best idea is to look around and try and do something good for our planet, for us, and our children. Okay, so there you have a text that someone wrote in a first certificate exam that we've just gone through, we've corrected. First paragraph, yes, it answers the question. Second paragraph, no, it doesn't answer the question. It talks about rivers and seas, but doesn't answer the question. Third paragraph hasn't given an extra topic. Now, I was actually going to go through 3 texts. I think we'll do another live for the other 2 texts, maybe tomorrow morning or tomorrow night. I could do, because I've got 2 more texts here that we can correct. But here are some examples of things that we could talk about for part 3. Okay? Part 3, your ideas you could have talked about. You could talk about kilometre zero. Kilometre zero. Does anyone know what that is? Kilometre zero is things that are grown locally or are made locally, come from around the place where you live. So you're talking about growing your own produce, or buying locally, or organic produce as well. You could have talked about renewable energy. You could have talked about, using solar panels on properties, and how solar energy could go back into the grid. Yeah, you could talk about wind energy and whether or not that's produced, or sea energy, from waves. All sorts of different renewable energies you could have talked about in the third part. You could talk about bulk buying. Bulk buying is when you buy. They have shops called Granel. It's called Granel. When you can go and take your own sort of like Tupperwares or your own plastic bottle, well, not really, jars and stuff like that, and you fill it up with items so you don't use as much plastic. You could talk about, or you buy in bulk, you buy you go and buy a big box of washing powder or something like that, rather than lots of small packets, because you use less packaging. You could talk about things like, instead of buying washing liquid, you could buy powder. You could buy solid shampoo. You could buy soap instead of shower gel, or you could buy solid toothpaste. You can actually get toothpaste capsules. I take them when I go travelling so that I don't have to take liquids in the bag. It's very, very good for that. But you could use these all the time. You could get solid shampoo, soap, toothpaste. I make my own soap so that I don't have to use plastic bottles for shower gel. You could talk about electric vehicles. You could talk about how whether or not electric vehicles are a good or a bad thing because they contain lithium batteries, which, the lithium, to mine the lithium actually takes a lot. You could talk about the possibility of other cars in the future, like hydrogen cars, that might actually be more sustainable than electric vehicles, for example. You could talk about commercialism. You could talk about how commercialism has increased with fast fashion, places like Zara and Shein that produce lots and lots of clothes that go into landfills every year, versus second-hand websites like Vinted, where you can sell your clothes online once you've got them. You could talk about the way things are not made to last anymore. They're made with what's called a good word that you could use in an exam such as this would be what's it called? Obsolescence. It's called I'll find it for tomorrow. If there's programmed obsolescence. Programmed obsolescence. That is when something is made to break after a certain period of time so that you then have to buy another one. In the past, things were made to last. Now things aren't made to last as much. You're expected to buy a new phone every 2 or 3 years, or you're expected to buy a new a new vacuum cleaner every 2 or 3 years. Your vacuum cleaner will break or the battery will run out, and people just buy new things rather than getting things fixed anymore. You could talk about mass production of food and of products. You could talk about places like McDonald's and fast food chains and how they have mass farming of cattle. You could talk about veganism. You could talk about vegetarianism. I personally think that if your meat is produced at kilometre zero, it would be a lot less and people just bought the meat from the local carniceria from the butcher's shop, then it would be a lot more environmentally friendly. I don't think you necessarily have to be vegan, but I think that mass production of food causes a lot more problems than people sourcing stuff locally. So you've got mass production of food, mass production of products. These are all things you could talk about in part 3, which were not used in this text. Okay, so this is why this text received a 3. Okay, this received a low mark for the English First Certificate Writing Part 1 compulsory question. Okay, so that concludes what we're going to do tonight. I will be back probably tomorrow, maybe in the morning. I might come on in the morning if people are around in the morning, because I tend to work in the afternoons with my classes, so it's easier for me to come on in the daytime. I have this text, which is on the same, that was a 4, and then I've got this text, which is a 5 on the same subject, which we can go through. Once again, if you want to take a screenshot of this, then I shall just hover over like that. I'll give you a second to do that. Please feel free to take a screenshot. And do remember that if you want to find out more about my classes, isladiomas.com. If you want to follow me on Instagram or on TikTok, it's at isladiomas, also on X, all the other social media. I'm also on Twitch as well, though I haven't actually put any videos on Twitch yet. And if you want to go and have a look at the materials that I've provided that are free to download, then please go to classroomgames.net. So Isladiomas for classes in Tenerife and classroomgames.net for materials. So that might be stuff that you can download games, print them off, laminate them, cut them up, whatever, and then I've got games where you can learn the irregular verbs, make that a little bit more fun for you. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you want to know more about how to pass exams, to help you with exams for Cambridge English or other exams, Escuela de Idiomas, it's the same sort of thing, then please pop in on my next live. Follow me at Isla Idiomas to know when my lives come on, and I shall see you again very, very shortly. Have a good night, and I hope you had a great weekend.